Hello, welcome to Herdstone Painting. My name is Mark, and today we're going to be painting the Tomb Guardian from the new Blood Bowl team for the Tomb Kings. There's 4 of these big bruises, and they're so different from the skeletons. I thought it'd be quite fun to do a painting tutorial for these guys as well. So make sure to undercoat, if you can, your Tomb Guardians in Wraithbone. It's going to really help you out. And we're going to start with the bandages and the skin. So if you've already got your Wraithbone Undercoat, you may wish to paint over with regular Wraithbone as well in case there are any mistakes. But we're going to paint over this entire guy with Agrax Earthshade and be quite generous with this. So get all of those bandages, just paint over everything if you would prefer. Just make sure as he dries that there is no pooling, especially around the feet. You don't want it to be too dark down there. So I'm going to run around with Wraithbone here. Now, I actually went in and started painting this with a small brush, but I think in hindsight, and what I'll do with the other guys is dry brush this, but you can paint each piece here with the Wraithbone going back in, or dry brush it, whatever you prefer. And then once that's dry, you want to run around with a bit of white scar and just dry brush over all of this. You don't want these bandages to look too clean. And in reality, as I say, I think dry brushing both of these steps would be better. So yeah, you want it to look old, decrepit, and beaten up after a millennia of sleeping. So now we'll paint the flesh elements. So unlike the skeletons, these guys are obviously mummified. We're going to go in with Stormvermin fur, and we're going to paint all of their faces. There's parts of their hands visible. There's parts of their feet. There's also a few elements around the body which aren't bandaged, which are really difficult to find. And they tend to look quite muscly, so they don't look. It's almost like there's not got those bandage elements. So just paint them in as well. We'll then do a Nuln Oil 50/50 Lahmian Medium mix and wash all of those skin elements. It's tough to do this. There's a lot of bandages crossing in front of the face and all around the hands. So just work your way around. And if you do make a mistake, you can always paint back over that Wraithbone and redo those particular bandages. Then going to relayer over all of that Stormvermin fur with Dawnstone. Just pick out his toes, paint around most of his hands, leaving that wash in the recesses wherever you can. Make sure to paint around the lips as best you can too. There's not a lot of face visible. Just pick out what you feel you can see and what would be brighter. We'll then do an extra highlight of Administratum Grey. That'll be on the ends of the toes, the knuckles, and then the higher elements of the face. Now this rather large positional has some fingernails and toenails. So I've grabbed Ulthwan Grey, which is almost just an off-white, the very bluey off-white. I'm just painting those nails in the Ulthwan Grey. Moving on to the shorts and the loincloth now. We're going to do both of these together. Starting off with the shorts. So our team's colours, the Sunstroke Saboteurs, is white armour and black pants. Make sure this is nice and thinned. I think most of the paints here, if you've got a wet palette, fantastic. That'll keep them nice and fresh as you're painting. If not, make sure to keep applying water to your paints as you work away. We'll then Nuln Oil this entire area. And it does go above, so you'll see the lower pants section, and also it folds over this chap's belt as well, so don't forget to do that top section too. We'll then simply relayer over with Corvus Black, leaving the Nuln Oil in the deeper recesses. Again, make sure this is nice and watered down, so it does have that translucency to show the wash through, so wherever it's dried a little bit more, less obvious, it will still show through on them gradients for you. We'll then grab some Mechanica Standard Grey and do some edge highlighting now. It's quite a big area, so what I'll tend to do is run it around the top, especially that sort of the fabric that's folded over the belt. Run it around the ripped up edges of the edge of the shorts, and then just paint a few lines down the sides and across the bum, just to make it look like it's a bit beaten up. And then we'll grab some Dawnstone and just over those highlights we've already done, let's just do a finer edge highlight, picking out the extreme edges. Moving on to the loincloth now. So this is mostly not visible from the front, but you can see it from the back. So we're going to paint all of this with Storm Vermin Fur. Again, this is a layer paint, so it's not a base paint. So you do want to still keep this nice and smooth and watered down, but you may need to do 2 coats of this for sure to make sure you get a nice coverage. Then we'll wash this with Nuln Oil as well. Now I'm doing this separately for everyone's benefit to see the individual parts, but you could paint both base coats and wash both of these at the same time, not a problem. We'll then relayer over with Storm Vermin Fur, leaving the Nuln Oil in the recesses. We'll then grab Dawnstone and edge highlight most of the sections here, because most of it's the only bit that's really visible. From the back you'll be able to paint a few of the little scuffs and holes, and it'll be a bit more visible from the rear. And finally we'll grab some Administratum Grey and just apply that to the very edges. I think from this point we'll notice now, if you have been painting your skeletons for your team, that these guys are considerably bigger, and the next few steps are going to take you a little bit longer to achieve. So the armor for the Sunstroke Saboteurs, we've got white armor, so we're going to base coat this with Corax White, 2 layers over all of these elements. Now if you guys want to try and paint your team in different colors, I feel like this is a good opportunity to apply that, so hit us up in the comments and we can come up with a cool recipe. But for our team, we're going with Corax White. We'll then go in and mix some Nuln Oil, 50-50 with Lahmian Medium. So we don't want a grey wash, we want like a lighter black wash effectively, so it's not quite grey, but still not extreme Nuln Oil. And we're going to wash that over all of the Corax White elements. Be quite generous here. We're going to go back in and clean it all up anyway. Then with our Corax White, which should hopefully still be on the palette, because we don't want to apply this until the wash is dry, we're going to paint this into all the areas we've just washed, leaving the Nuln Oil wash that we'd made in the recesses only. There are a few more cracks in these miniatures in their armor, so you want to make sure to leave those washed as well. Once that Corax White is done, we're going to go in with some White Scar and paint all the edges really on most of these things, especially on the arms. We want to make sure we match the same highlight direction on all pieces. So now the tough piece, the gold and silver, as well as the Scarabs. We're going to grab some Retributor Armour, and now this bit will be really time consuming, unfortunately, but if you work your way around, you'll get there. So we'll get some Retributor Armour on the palette, just a regular palette. Make sure to keep applying water to keep it nice and smooth as you keep painting, and don't forget to add more paint to that pool as you go. And we're just painting all the gold sections here. Once that's dry, we just carefully wash everything with Reikland Fleshshade, specifically trying to make sure we don't get it onto the white. It may pool in other areas that are less noticeable, maybe around the shorts, but if it gets onto the white, it will instantly go orange, so keep an eye on it as it dries. So once that has dried, make sure it has dried, because you don't want to apply any paint until it has, because that'll be a disaster. We're going to go in and relayer over with Liberator Gold, leaving the wash only in the recesses. So this again is a bit of a time consuming job here, but it does make the gold look really nice. And then once that's done, we'll get some Stormhost Silver and just paint the edges. So we want to pick out any of the little chips We want to make sure we match the edges that we paint on all other elements. So both sides, keep it nice and symmetrical. And there are also wings on this model on the front, so make sure to paint each of the winged feathers in the same way so they look nice and smart together. We'll then go in and grab some Iron Hand Steel. Again, keep it nice and watered down, keep applying water as you go. But we're going to paint the grill on the front of the helmet, as well as the on the loincloth. Just in front of the loincloth is like an extra piece of armour, which I feel should be silver to break it up from the gold, as well as all the scarabs that are crawling all over the model. So paint all of those in Iron Hand Steel. Now we're going to wash all of the Iron Hand Steel elements with Nuln Oil. Be fairly generous, but fairly careful. Again, we don't want to get any of this on the gold or the white. So just take your time with it and don't load the brush up too much. Then we'll grab some Stormhost Silver and just letting the wash and the Iron Hand Steel do its job. We'll just pop the Stormhost Silver onto the edge highlights of all of these things. And on the Scarabs, just paint over the wings and the head, leaving the wash in the recesses. And then finally, to finish off our metals, and in this case our Scarabs, we'll just get some Tyran Blue. Take this directly from the pot. Don't be overly generous, but just almost like basically paint this over. And there's a few of them all over the models. I think each mummy's got them in different places, but this guy's got 3. So as you go around, just be like, oh, yep, there's a Scarab there. So just add that wash, and that should be enough to make them look Scaraby. So our last few bits for our Tomb Guardian already. All of that work is on the white and the gold. But we're going to paint all of the straps, and there's not a lot of them. There's some on his hands, as well as the belt around his middle is like a leather as well with the gold rectangles. So just paint all of those in. And then I've Nuln Oiled this, but I missed the recording. And then we'll just go in and highlight all of these elements, just an edge highlight with Gorthor Brown. Just run it around all the ridges of the belt and all the ridges of the leather elements that he's holding in his hands. Now we're going to move to the eyes. So we're going to grab our Winsor & Newton brush here specifically, and the eyes are very hidden here. We're going to grab some Sybarite Green, of course, watered down fairly nicely, and we're going to move the model around to move to our brush direction, and we're going to paint those eyes in to make it look like they're glowing a sickly green. We'll then grab some Coelia Greenshade, and again, gently add that into those eye sockets. And then finally, we'll finish these eyes with some Gauss Blaster Green. Again, same process. Line the model up to your brush and then switch him around to do the other eye. We're just painting the very tops of the eyes here. I felt like the green, or the sort of turquoisey green, contrasted really nicely with the yellowy gold. And there's just something different as well on the team, because the others are all skeletons effectively. And that's it. That's our Tomb Guardian finished. This guy was a lot of fun. Really difficult to paint all the gold, but that's the case, I think, for this entire team. So again, I think it's just taking your time and being methodical with it, and you will get there. But when it's done, it looks awesome. We have nearly finished the entire team, so I'm hoping to do a finalised video of what I learned along the way, so you guys can see, the entire process, what were the pitfalls, what worked really well, what didn't. And hopefully that'll be coming soon. I'm nearly finished with everything, so looking forward to filming it. So until then, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. It's been a pleasure to do these videos so far. And if you didn't like them, well, thanks for stopping by regardless. And I will see you guys in the next one. We do have a Discord link in our main channel. If you fancy signing up and joining the community, that would be great. But until then, see you in the next one. Bye.